You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, it has been a week. And, this is that time where I'm like, the guaranteed back-to-back episodes. And, I remind myself, I'm like the hardest working journalist in Philadelphia because who's giving you 2 back-to-back episodes? I'm committed. I have a schedule. I have to do all the things. And so I'm so happy I was able to make sure I get this out. As you can see, for those who are wondering, how was my Grammy experience? Well, there's an episode. There's a special edition episode. Some of you have been listening and have been seeing your messages and DMs, and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know all that was going on behind the scenes. Yes. And there's still news happening, right? Like even though I was in, what they call La La Land for a couple of days in LA, there were still things happening. And we have to do that. We have to do news. And, how am I feeling? I'm feeling good. So much has taken place. Even though I was in LA, the world was still going. But I made it in time. I got to Philly, as you all see, in one piece. I had to go immediately to my Alpha meeting for Road Chapter. I'm a member, proud brother of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, the first Black intercollegiate fraternity, period. 1906. You all know the rest. And as you all know, last week I had made the announcement that my brother and my lip brother both crossed. So now they're members. So they had their formal, special, you call it a probate, but they had a gathering there. They're christening into the chapter. So we had our first chapter meeting where they were brought in as new initiates. So it was a very nice ceremony, and there was food, and then we had an after party and all the things. So it was very nice to be there, and it's like I want to be a part of that, of course. So I made sure I got back. I did get a little bit of sleep, even though I slept on the plane too. But I know that Tuesday is going to be like the whole day. It's going to be like we'll have a couple meetings, but I'm crashing. And I know my students, they've been having that, professor's been gone, he's living his life, we don't have any assignments, yeah. Listen, Wednesday, when class is back in session, listen, I have a substitute, I had a sub, and I told them, I said, listen, no hard assignments or anything, use this time to recap, tell them to use this time to outline upcoming papers, do some research, let them use this time not as just a fun day to skip, even though last Monday classes were canceled because I teach classes on Mondays and Wednesdays. So that threw a little bit off, even though it was good for me because I didn't have to teach at all. Like I didn't have to teach on Monday, and I was already leaving to LA on Wednesday. So I had the whole week off last week. And then I didn't teach, of course, on Monday because I was coming back. So I'm trying to figure out how am I going to get everything back on track. I mean, what I'm probably going to do is just really, no one can teach my lessons. Like, listen, substitutes are great, but the way that I do my slideshow presentations, it's done in a way where only I can teach it. And I low-key told my students, I was like, listen, the substitute professor is not me, Not to say they're bad. It's just that the way that I sing my songs, like, Mariah Carey, how she talked about how, people talk about the tributes, right? There were people that did Mariah Carey tributes. They're not bad artists. They're just not good singing her songs. So my substitute, they're not a bad instructor. They're just not good teaching my lessons. So I told them they're going to try, right? Because they say, oh, well, can you give me a lesson plan? I'm like, it won't hit because I don't get taught by my slideshow. My slideshow gets taught by me, meaning that the information on the slides is not that much. I don't do huge, wordy slideshows. I mean, I provide graphs and visuals, but I use that time to actually instruct and educate and, give them examples and all the things. And the students in my class, I tell them all the time, use my slideshows as memory guides to your notes. So what you see on the slides, if you're taking notes, you take notes of the things that is not on the slideshow. It always gets me when students copy slideshows word for word. So I always tell them, don't worry about the slide. You're going to get this. I'm going to give it to you at the end of the week. I always have it in their modules at the end of the week. Take the notes of things that I'm saying, and I'll tell you when it's important. And I'll say, write this down. And then I will say my point, and they'll take notes. So it's a really fun lecture. And I really love teaching. This podcast is an education within itself, if I do say so myself. But yeah. So I want to get into hot topics because everyone's like, oh, well, I normally do a weekly recap. I mean, I was in LA. I was at the Grammys. That's its own episode. So there's been a lot of things that have been talked about since the Grammys, which we'll get into some of that. There's been some interesting conversations, analysis, and perspectives about it ever since. It's like the first 24 hours is a whirlwind, and then you start to see what are the narratives coming out of the Grammys. What are some of the things that people are still talking about? And so we'll do a little recap, of course, later down in the show. But some people said, how did you do your show on the record with Ernest while you were literally in LA? Well, the answer is simple. I'm Ernest Owens. No, I'm joking. No. What happened is that I had a special guest, the chief public defender for the Defenders Association of Philadelphia, Keisha Hudson. We talked about her 2 weeks ago, I believe, and I was talking about her work around immigration policies, and she's phenomenal, right? And I'll give a recap of it, but if you want to listen to the episode, it is in the link in my bio. I had a great guest, and I just was like, I have to get her soon. And everything that was going on with ICE and this episode, right? ICE Out is what I'm calling it. There's a lot, happening. And, listen, I tell people all the time, you want to get people in the moment before narrative shifts. Who knew what, when, and where? Because we're seeing a turning point with ICE. You all are noticing it. We're all seeing how everyone's all of a sudden bandwagoning. And listen, I don't mind that because if you're going to be on the right side of history, I always tell people it's never a wrong time to be on the right side of history. However, the sooner the better. You know what I mean? Like, take that in. It's never a wrong time to be on the right side of history. However, the sooner the better. That's just my opinion. I like that. So, so I interviewed her. The way we did it was a 3-hour time zone difference. So, for example, my show, I record live in real time at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, I had to get up at 6:30 a.m. because it was LA time, and then do the show at 7 a.m. with her and rock it out. And I had a cool update. I was like, yeah, everyone's talking about Don Lemon. Yeah, I was at the Clive Davis pre-Grammy gala with him, the Clive Davis party, and I saw him and told him Philadelphia had his back and blah, blah, blah. What a flex. But it was facts because the night before, that picture went viral all over the internet. And, we're just doing it. We're not even, this isn't, I'm embracing and leaning into my bad bitchness. I am. I'm not, going to be modest about it. I'm not going to be cocky and all that. But listen, I am him. And so, yes, we were there in the city when Don Lemon got detained. We were there when he was released, and we were there to party with him as the Grammys welcomed him back because he was here to cover the red carpet, and I was there in the room. That's what we do. We got to follow the stories. I didn't know that was going to happen to Don Lemon, but I became a part of that moment, right? And I think, I'm just fortunate enough and blessed enough to be able to have the resources and the support system and the team to empower me to do this work the way I do it. So, this is the work. While some people just put out statements, some people go out and do it. And I know they'd be like, damn, he just every time. Because there are people saying, where's PABJ's statement? Where's PABJ? What does PABJ got to say about it? I was like, hold on, because we do a little different over here. We're the first Black Journalism Association in America. And while other groups don't know what they want to say or how they want to say something, we do more than just, write statements. We take meetings. We give greetings. We see the people up front. We let them feel us. And that's what we did. So, just, for those that were like, oh, where's that statement? I gave a statement to the person. I didn't have to echo chamber or chat GPT my statement. Oops. So if you go to Philly ABJ on Instagram, it's Philly ABJ. My organization reshared the picture of myself and Don Lemon and, gave our remarks and not just said how we feel. We told our members in Philadelphia and the public what we told Mr. Lemon and made it very clear that this issue is bigger than, Don Lemon. Georgia Fort, the Black journalist who was in Minnesota, who also got detained, that whether, in the statement, and I'm actually going to pull it up for you all because I think it's important to read. Reading, writing, rhythm. Yes, it is really important to read. So I'm going to read this statement. So, over the weekend, our PABJ president, Ernest got to speak with journalist Don Lemon in LA following his controversial detainment. He let him know that Black journalists across the country were in solidarity with him and that his previous newsroom home of Philadelphia had his back. So, fun fact, Don Lemon used to be a reporter for CBS 3 Philadelphia before he went off to CNN and took over the world. The Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists stands alongside SBJ and URL Media and other journalism advocacy organizations who are calling for the fair and equitable treatment of the free press, whether they are as high profile as Mr. Lemon or a local media champion such as Georgia Fort. Yeah. So we let people know, yeah, we were with him. Like, got to see him. So, while other chapters or other groups, say, whoa, look what we did. That's cute. Cute. Just wanted to say that. So, I wanted to make sure I make this clear. If you want to listen to that interview with public defender Keisha Hudson, which we're going to talk more about that later in the show, the link is in the bio. It's there already. It's updated. Now, I have an announcement to make before we get to Hot Topics. And I didn't know I could announce it this early, but first of all, happy Black History Month. Black History Month is still happening. We still have it. It's still alive and well in, this country. Who would have thought? But it seems like Trump is, changing up a lot of his notions. I mean, MLK Day, people didn't know if he was going to do a proclamation. He did. Was it as good as others? No, but he's still recognizing it. But I want to also say, happy Black History Month, because that is still happening in this country and it matters. So, my big announcement that I didn't know I was going to be able to announce early, but things happen. So, on March 13th to 15th, I will be in Austin, Texas, as a speaker for my first ever South by Southwest debut. I'm going to be at South by Southwest this year. I just got the news. There's been a press release that's been put out. The press is talking about it. This organization, well, first of all, South by Southwest, for people who don't know what that is, even though I think we all kind of, like most people do know, it is one of the most notable creative festivals in the country. I mean, this is an annual gathering of film, interactive media, music festivals, conferences, and it always takes place in mid-March in Austin, Texas. It started in 1987. So this is the 39th annual South by Southwest festival. It's big. I mean, it's big numbers. People come from all over. Tons of parties, tons of events. It's a lot. It's a big event. It's huge, and it's lots of emerging talent, groundbreaking ideas, networking beyond. I mean, people come from all over the world. Film screenings, tech expos, comedy shows, keynote speakers, all of that jazz. I will be speaking as a part of this epic group that is having talent. The Podcast Movement Evolutions is the group. So, Podcast Movement and Sounds Profitable is having their event that they do at South by Southwest called Podcast Movement Evolutions. And this will be taking place from March 13th to 15th in Austin. I will be there. They have a huge lineup of different people from all over the podcast space, and I was invited. Yes, I have a paid speaking engagement. Yeah, I'm getting a check. Yeah, who would have thought? Um, I am giving a speech on day 3, which is March 15th, which is going to be on a Sunday, and this theme of the day that they're doing this 3-day extravaganza. So I'll be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And before you all start, let me just say this. March 15th is the day of the Oscars. See, why do all the good things happen at the same time? So there is a strong chance, I don't know yet, but I think I have to accept the reality at this point. There's a strong chance that I will not be able to go to the Oscar watch party I've gone to every year for like 8 years. There's a chance because going to Austin, traveling, I don't know if I'll make it back in time. See, I'm a Tom Cruise. I would like to do Mission Impossible. If I could, I was looking at like flights and trying to figure out how I can finesse. I don't think I'll make it, actually. I think I will have to, you know, watch it from home or something. It's just, I'm a little salty. I'm a little salty that I'm going to miss this party. But listen, but this is an opportunity of a lifetime. And listen, you when your dreams come true, you can't be salty. You can't. I'm just always like, why all the things? Like this reminds me like 2 years ago. I don't know if I ever talked about this. Like my friends, my lip brothers and Mr. Johnson got box seats to see Janet at the Wells Fargo Center, now known as Xfinity Mobile Arena. But they was the Wells Fargo Center. And I could not go that night because I had VIP tickets to go see Sarah McLachlan at the Man. Yes, these are first world problems, okay? Woe was I. Oh, pity me. No, no, no. I'm just saying, it's like, that summer was like, why couldn't we spread this out? Why was everyone trying to do a concert on Thursday night? But favor isn't fair. So yeah, yeah. But back to South by Southwest. So my panel that I'm doing is about credibility in the newsroom. Not credibility in the newsroom, credibility as a podcaster. So I'm not going to tell everything. I mean, more to come, more details to come. And of course, I'm telling you all this. So some of you all, if you listen to the episode early, um, this is going to be your first time hearing about this. A lot of you are going to be like, oh, what's going on? This is all connected. Um, this is all connected. And I want to be clear that the subject matter I'm talking about is something that for starters, if you're listening to this podcast, you're going to be the first to know about this. I haven't posted this on social media yet, but my speech is called Credibility as Currency, Why Trust Drives Influence. And that is what I'm going to be saying at South by Southwest. So what's great about this is they heard about my work as an independent podcaster, but also as a journalist doing it through my own media company. And so all of those elements, they were like, how do you produce a weekly podcast as a journalist? How do you engage thousands of subscribers and listeners? And how do you do this in a way that keep them intact? Because there's so many people making a podcast every week, every day. There's a new podcaster out there. Why are podcast people like to do this show for over 5 years? At this point, I'm a pro. I'm a professional. Like I do, you all know this, but this group was saying like they're doing a week of different speeches throughout this experience. So like the first day is about the power of the medium. The second day is called the creative engine, about creativity. And then the third and final day, which is the day I'll be speaking as we conclude this summit, is the future of attention. And so how do you keep people? How do you engage people? How do you keep folks engaged and following? We're in the information age, but we're also part of this attention as capital. And so my theory, as someone who has done this, is, hey, it's easy to talk about the stunts, right? Okay, you know, a lot of people that want to do a podcast, I tell people all the time, I'm like, this is not for the meek. A lot of people just think, oh, I want to do a podcast. I'm like, do you want to do a podcast or do you just want to do a podcast episode? Okay, that's why you see a lot of people do limited series or mini series. They're not committed to a full TV show because it takes a lot of work to do that. But mini series where you do like 8 episodes, you do a little package or something, sure. And there's no judgment there. But I think a lot of people will assume that because they feel a way about a couple of little things that they now have the dexterity to continue doing this for an extended period of time. The best podcasters, or the ones who I can't stand, have something in common. Well, they either have one thing, right? Either if they're not a celebrity, the podcasts that stay are people who have a level of credibility. And credibility isn't necessarily always built on your pedigree or your title. It's built on how well researched you are, how consistent you are, how accurate you are, and all of those elements. And I want to tell all of the speech, but we'll talk more about it once once the South by Southwest happens. But I have a whole theory about this. But long story short, celebrities that do podcasts, they use their celebrity to appeal to people. But most people who do podcasts are not celebrities. So what is the difference between those that stay and those that don't? And I believe that it's credibility. And that's why the speech is called Credibility as Currency, Why Trust Drives Influence. Because the influence is the trust. And I think that is, as a journalist, that is why I think this show has been able to sustain, because there's a level of realness here. There's a level of trust here. And that my credibility is the currency. It's not stunts. It's not, we sometimes have a little bit of moments, y'all, but you're not running to my show based on every week you're going on like, oh, there's a fight, there's a controversy, you go to hear my commentary, get in my business a little bit and have some fun and get some advice. But there's credibility here, and that's what's driving it. And the podcasts that last long are the podcasts that have the credibility. And I think too many people are trying to copy celebrities. You're not Joe Budden. and neither should you want to be. But you're not, Joe Budden. You're not, you know, Joe Rogan, all the Joes, right? You're not those people, and you shouldn't want to be those people, to be honest. No shade, but real rap. So it's okay to figure out, then what do I need to do, right? Stop chasing virality and chase credibility. Because when you have credibility, you will build a long lasting audience. There are people who have followed my career for the past year, some 5 years, some a decade, and some 15. Realness, consistency, being consistently credible is the currency. That's my superpower. And there's other things. But that's the difference. And so I'm going to share that wisdom as a longtime podcaster and journalist, as somebody who's taking my journalistic skills and things I've learned and applying them to my teaching, applying them to podcasting, applying them to my media mogul building. That's how. So stay tuned. I think they might film it. If they don't, I will find a way to make sure people know more about it. But if you're going to be in Austin, don't be a stranger, okay? Philly, because this is the thing too. Listen, okay, we're going to have a little sidebar real quick. Because I didn't talk about this on the Grammys episode, special edition episode I did. But I want to say this. If you see somebody in your city and you see them at out of town, like, media events and things like that. I'm not gonna name names. That's we don't got to do that. That's just the phone calls I call my friends. But this is just it's not even about one person or two person or three person. It's a general observation. But I just noticed that when I go to different events in different cities, and there is a Philly folks come, there's always this like vibe with some people, like, oh, why are you here? First of all, can we say hello? Can we say good afternoon? Can we say good morning? But people telling themselves by how they show up and engage you. And it's always telling. But for whatever reason, when I go to certain events, there is this mindset that either how did I get here or whatever. Is that what matters most? Or is it how do we show up for each other to lean in and support? And so I would just say that when I went to the Grammys, a lot of folks from Philly that I bumped into, that's from the Recording Academy or whatever, a good chunk of them were funny acting in the very beginning, like very much like, oh hey, or oh what brings you here, whatever. Like I took their little toy from them. Um, I don't have to. I mean, first of all, this is my fourth consecutive time coming. Relax. But people will just act really funny. So I just noticed that, and that's not just Grammys, but like different events, like when I'll go to different things. Like I was at an event for Glad, and there were a couple Philly people that were there, and some of them were just like acting real like, okay, for starters. But there's always that vibe. And then once I get there and I start, doing my thing, oh, these people know how to follow someone back. Oh, they know how to actually put a sentence together and go, or they know ask for or try to ask for favors. Oh yeah, I see you at this party. We're outside. Can you get a cent? It's like, you think that the first time that I'm going to get a DM from you, now see, I'm getting very specific. Let me relax. But do you think the first time you've ever DM'd me asking me for something that was not on my agenda is going to be the first time I engage? The nerve, the audacity. And so there's people that will, and I've talked about this in Martha's Vineyard. You all remember some of this. There are people who will sit up and never have the time nor day. And I'm not saying people have to like, meet me and all that, but like there are people that will never have the time or day in Philadelphia to just simply acknowledge you, say what's up, good afternoon, have manners. But then the moment you are out of town, all of a sudden, everybody wants to you know, test you. And I'm at a point where I've seen it too often. I normally happens during when I go to Martha's Vineyard. Like that is the pattern. Normally during Martha's Vineyard, I notice this pattern of people who begin to get real, all of a sudden, oh, I'm their friend, or oh, we need to do lunch. We're not doing that here. Don't get brand new all of a sudden. Let's not act like that, right? But I already know with South by Southwest, my mindset is this. If there has been no conversations with me prior to me going there, don't all of a sudden see me and then go, oh, why are you here? We're not doing it. I'm not doing it in 2026. There are things on my list that I said I was gonna leave behind. And all the brand new shit, we leaving that behind. Just saying. We're we're yeah, we're not doing it. So let's get to hot topics. Well, at this point, ice is having a meltdown. And I'm not talking about the ice on the ground because it looks like the weather is getting a little bit better and calming down. But gotta let it be known. Listen, everyone is beginning to switch on their whole take regarding ice. The initial chief who was there, it feels like it was like 5,000 years ago because so much has advanced, right? Everything went down lemon and everything in between. But troops are moving out of Minnesota. Kristi Noem, people are calling for her to step down. Trump kind of have this on and off relationship with her. Now, Kristi Noem is the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. She's been called the Ice Barbie. Um, you know, she's been called a couple of different names. And I mean, they say because she looks like a Barbie doll. The Botox be Botox, I suppose. But she is, they're calling her Ice Barbie, is what they're calling her. Um, they're saying her personality might be changing in this. Her whole perspective might be evolving. The judge has already dissolved DHS shooting evidence order. She's going to do body cameras. Noam is pledging body cameras on ICE officers. That's what she says. She says that they will be issued body cameras following the attacks that happened in Minnesota. She said that Homeland Security officers in Minneapolis will be issued body cameras. There is going to be, she's also said she wants to have body camera deployment for those federal officers in Minneapolis. So that's what they're saying because it's just too many people dying. People are getting killed out there. And it's a crisis. And Republicans are getting information. Even some of these Democrats in Congress, some of them who voted initially to fund ICE, now they're beginning to say they have regrets. Because moderates right now, we're getting into a polarizing level here. Everyone is beginning to take a step back and stop playing these games. We're seeing too many people pretend or act like, no, no, absolutely not. But people are beginning to get information around ICE, and they should, one would hope. But when you see time and time again, new excuses, new messages, it's ridiculous. But also what's happening is that, Trump is having, this is ridiculous. Trump dropped his demand that Harvard pay the White House $200 million. Now he is seeking $1 billion in damages. A joke. I have been following what's going on with the Republicans. He's calling for Republicans. Now he is. Because he's moving, because this whole Epstein file stuff, which we'll get to a little bit, there's just more shifts. Now he's telling people that he wants Republicans to take over the voting procedures in 15 states. And he said this on the podcast of his former FBI official, Dan Bongino. Now, remember, Dan Bongino, literally, he has a podcast called The Dan Bongino Show. He was just there at the FBI and just left. Now he's back doing podcasting again. And Trump is on his show. Listen, don't get me started. The conservatives are having a meltdown. Celebrities, everyone all over. The Super Bowl is this upcoming Sunday. I think it's the Patriots versus the Seahawks. Look, I'm a gay. I don't know. The straights are watching it. Look, the Eagles are not playing, so it is what it is. I'll probably, most likely, will watch Bad Bunny's Super Bowl performance. I think the whole world is going to be watching it now that he's won the Grammy for Album of the Year. I'll be honest with you all real quick. Just sidebar. I don't really listen to Bad Bunny. Not that I don't think he's talented. He seems to listen. What do I know? He's a global superstar. But I don't really listen to him. I don't. And it's not that I don't like him. I just, I don't really know any of his songs. I hear them. I don't want to say they sound the same because people are going to say, look, now see Ernest. But I don't. But I don't, that doesn't mean he's bad. I'm not saying I don't get the hype. It's just that I have not ran to the music, but I'm aware of the music. And I listened to the last album. I personally feel like the album before that, the one that's with the pink cover with the heart, I think that I enjoyed that album more than this album. But maybe this was them giving it to him because that was the year that Beyonce went against Renaissance album, against his album in Harry's house, to which Harry Styles won for that. Oh gosh, don't get me started on that. It's just the trauma of all that. But anywho, so everyone's watching this. The whole country is like on the edge of their seat because one, I don't know. I'm hoping that he's safe. I'm hoping that he's able to perform and there's no drama. But it's just a lot going on in California, and it's going to be in California this year. So there's just a lot. There's just a lot happening over there. Meanwhile, the conservative group Turning Point USA is going to be streaming their own alternative all-American concert. Ciao. They're going to have Kid Rock as their head time, like basically with Kid Rock during the Super Bowl halftime show. They're trying to counter Bad Bunny, who has been outspoken against the Trump administration, of course, which is why I just hope, if Don Lemon can get it, I don't think Bad Bunny, what's happening here. But we're going to see. So this brings me back to these distractions. What is this about, right? Because so much has happened, right? This is about the Epstein files. Like Trump, once again, does not want us to think about the Epstein files. And they've released them. And Bill and Hillary Clinton, former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, has agreed to testify in the House Oversight Committee's investigation to Jeffrey Epstein. They're going to do it. And now there's even been more drama because the British and Norwegian family, the royal families, are facing their criticism because now it's been exposed that they have ties to Epstein. Then there is an owner of the New York Giants who discussed women in emails to Epstein. The NFL commissioner said the league will look into the men's relationship. Like, y'all, like what's going on? Like, more and more information has come out. Powerful men in the files, details, things to know. A lot's been said. The documents contain unverified tips and allegations about Trump. And I think that's important to say, that some stuff has been allegations, but there's no. So let me unpack this because there were people talking about Eclipse was named and Diddy was named and Jay-Z was named. Here's the problem, okay? So, and I want to explain this to people. There's a reason why the Jay-Z Eclipse thing is not taken off, right? About some names, because there are quote unquote random tips of people just randomly who have called the FBI or contacted them mentioning these people. That could be anybody. And that's in the files document of people who have
out of nowhere at any given time said these things, right? And this can be as recent as last year or a couple of months ago, whatever the case is. That's all speculation in these files. Like basically the files have documents of what people who have called tips. So it could be anybody. They can say your stepdad was they had a call to tip, right? There was a tip, but these are all unverified information, right? So that's in the files, right? These random tips that just pop up, and some people speculated that there could be some conservatives that might be purposely in bad faith calling the tip line to just name certain Democrats that support are against Trump to create distraction and create press that takes attention off of his relationship and his behavior. And so that's important, right? So this is one that has happened, right? There was released emails, right? And now this is the point. Now there are emails, and these files are talking about those documents. And some of the big ones is that according to release, so let me back up real quick. There was some speculation around Jay-Z and dating underage girls and things of that nature that was being said in reference. Nicki Minaj has been stirring the pot. We'll get to her later on too. But basically, there was one situation where they said Epstein, according to the New York Times, drafted notes to and about Bill Gates in 2013, suggesting that he engaged in extramarital sex out of his life. Now, he's not with Melinda French Gates anymore. They've divorced. But a representative of Mr. Gates called the accusations absolutely absurd and completely false. One email, Mr. Epstein wrote that he had helped Mr. Gates acquire drugs in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls, and he had facilitated rendezvous with Mr. Gates with married women. It is not clear if Mr. Epstein ever sent the emails to Mr. Gates. This is coming from the New York Times. The files also revealed that Mr. Lutnick planned a visit to Mr. Epstein's island in 2012, though he had previously said he severed ties with Mr. Epstein around 2005. Now, Mr. Lutnick told the New York Times on Friday that he could not comment about the island visit because he had not seen the latest Epstein documents. Wait a minute, sir. So there's a lot here. There's a 2013 email exchange between British billionaire Richard Branson and Mr. Epstein suggested that the pair had a familiar relationship, but at least in part around their interest in women. Multiple messages between Elon Musk and Epstein showed that the two comparing schedules to find time to meet in Florida or in the Caribbean between 2012 and 2014. One document detailed a diagram of Epstein's inner circle, including Ghislaine Maxwell, his lawyer, Darren Einik, and his accountant, Richard Kahn. So people were saying that this was likely the last major release of Epstein files. We probably won't get more. There were nude photos in the files. They published dozens of unredacted nude images on the website showing young women or possibly teenagers. The photos were largely removed after the New York Times began notifying the Justice Department that they had these photos. There are a lot of big major business names. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Howard Lutnick, which if you're like wondering who is Howard Lutnick for those, he is the current United States Secretary of Commerce. Yes. There's reports. There's files that show that him and his wife planned a 2012 visit to Epstein's island. Listen. So to be clear, these are emails. Like this is files. Like there's two things I want to be clear about. What I'm noticing is that talks about like rappers and celebrities and shit. Those are tips that were documented as tips in the hotline recently. That's just any random person. What I want to be clear about is that, and I've told people this, not to be shady, but if you understand who Jeffrey Epstein was, how powerful and how rich he was, this man wasn't really out here with these people. Like, these people, at the time of which he was doing these things, he was not bringing these rappers and people like this to his island. And I just get so annoyed that a lot of people are not just using critical thinking skills or even having a real accurate timeline, right? So it's like everyone lives in this vacuum where they think power and celebrity. There are people who are famous. Yes, they're famous. But then there are people that are powerful. Like, fame and power can sometimes align, but not always. And so there's just this hyper obsession. I just think people are just haters of Jay-Z. Look, Jay-Z has his problems, by all means, we know. But I think that at some point, the hateration, like, for whatever reason, people just are just haters of Jay-Z. They just really want to link him. Like, I just think, what I mean by hater is that when you so badly want the downfall of somebody without any sense of facts, evidence, research, and so any type of string that you want to stretch something, it's just like, and a lot of this, I think, and same with proximity to Beyonce, people think these people are so perfect, or they think that there's such a jealousy of just, I don't know, but people just hate Black people who are almost invincible to bullshit. Like, there's a desire to quote unquote humble them, or to, there's a jealousy. And I think Jay-Z, there's an obsession, I think, that people have, where I just have noticed it. Like, people just so badly want to see this man fall. And I'm like, I would understand that if there was like actual shit there. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you are so invested in wanting Jay-Z to fall when Diddy had so much stuff right in front of our faces and everyone just kept turning a blind eye. You want Jay-Z to fall so much more, but R. Kelly, you're still giving this man mercy and grace. I just wonder why. Why? Right? Oh, everyone wants Oprah to just, there's just all that desire to, frame Oprah for something so bad. Like, there's such an obsession with Oprah to fall. But there's so many people every day walking amongst you in Hollywood that are doing so many problematic things, so many allegations, so many like legitimate shit being said. But every time I turn around, Trey Songz is still being booked. Okay? Just saying. The obsession with certain celebrities to just wanting to just name drop them. I mean, if I had $1 for every time someone has something to say about Oprah or Jay-Z or Beyonce, like some ridiculous obsession, it's like, enough, like, really try to accuse this man with no real substantial evidence, like try to throw a big old lawsuit on him and accuse him of sexual assault. Like, stop. And it's crazy because there's people who are actual victims, and people's obsession with like trying to pin people to these things makes me go, is this really about justice for victims? Or do you just have a hyper obsession with trying to get revenge? And I think you should be very wary of people who are seeking to get revenge from people who isn't doing anything that warrants such. Like, you don't get to use people's actual trauma and weaponize that as a way to try to humble them or whatever you want to call it. Like, that shit is just, ugh. So, yeah. Nicki Minaj. What do I say? I don't even know if I want to give her too much. To be honest. She's going down bad. She's gone. We've lost her. She's gone. Yeah. Lost cause. Everybody wants to create 1,000 excuses. I mean, she's literally getting played by the Trump administration in real time. She talked about having this gold card of citizenship, only for the press team to confirm that that was a memento, that it wasn't actual legitimized, legit gold card, right? She's trying to act like she's playing this strategic game. Girl, you're not getting booked for any concerts. You're a laughing stock by your own peers in the music industry. You're literally on Twitter having a meltdown with random shots being thrown. You are literally begging for attention. Nobody cares. Every day there is a new, you're being a full homophobe, a whole transphobe. Your legacy is in shambles. I'm not listening to your music anymore. Fuck her. And that is exactly what Billy Porter said. He said a little bit more dramatic than that. But I'm not, I don't really have anything more. A sellout. She should go to Cancun. She's a joke. And everyone who's playing that game, because we see you. I told you all, fuck 50 Cent. That wedding, performing at that wedding, Sexy Red, damn, Sexy Red. We were rooting for you. Gotta throw it away. Gotta throw it away. Nicki's just going to every damn Trump event now. You know, no sense of standards. I'm done. Like, I'm not going to, like, what a sellout. $50 Cent and Nicki Minaj were there at a wedding of a Trump advisor. Sexy Red performed. Yeah, we're seeing it. They're showing us who they are. They're not getting booked, so they're doing things for money and pardons potentially for their pedophile husbands. Like, I can't. I can't. Democrats, what they've been up to. Shapiro is starting to say some things about ICE, even though there's some trouble in paradise. There is some smoke between him and Larry Krasner. Both of them are Jewish, but they're beefing. They're beefing. And, look, I'm standing back and standing by, okay? Because literally, Krasner says, he says, don't be a wimp. When Governor Shapiro had decried his comparison of ICE agents to Nazis. Now, this was reported by local reporters in Philadelphia, but they're getting into it. They're getting into it. Krasner is getting a lot of criticism, including from Josh Shapiro, who said that his comments referring to ICE agents as wannabe Nazis was abhorrent, and said that the rhetoric doesn't help bring down the temperature. But Krasner's not backing down. He says, quote, these are people who have taken their moves from a Nazi playbook and a fascist playbook. Quote, Governor Shapiro is not meeting the moment. The moment requires that we call a subgroup of people within federal law enforcement who are killing innocent people, physically assaulting innocent people, threatening and publishing the use of video, what they are. Just say it. Don't be a wimp. He even said, a reminder, Mr. Governor, silence equals death. Now, I find this to be hypocrisy on Josh Shapiro's part, because when there were a massive targeting of pro-Palestinian Muslim students at the University of Pennsylvania, Shapiro compared them to the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. That's what Governor Shapiro said. So, it's easy for it's okay for you to compare pro-Palestinian student protesters to the KKK, but you want to tell you want to tell the district attorney to tone down the rhetoric. Shut up. Respectfully, shut up. See, this is the shit. This be the shit that gets me turned off, right? Because one, when Democrats let it have the infighting, and it is what it is. The moderates always want to fight the progressives. Listen, moderates, right now, y'all need to step the fuck up. Y'all need to turn up the temperature, because I just don't understand why every time neo-Nazis and white supremacists are being condemned, you always got to tell people to tone down the temperature. There is a pattern, Governor Shapiro, and I'm noticing the pattern. I'm noticing your pattern. And if I ever get a chance to interview him, I'm going to say, I've noticed a pattern when it comes to conservatives and white supremacists. Your pattern is you like to handle them with kid gloves. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, you were not only somebody who raised the flag down, but made it a point to talk about his legacy and celebrate him as this man who had different opinions and a debater. And you really kowtowed to that narrative. It's documented. These are receipts. You can go look it up. I'm not here to debate this point because I saw it happen in real time. I have the statement from his office. I shared the statement so you all could see it. The receipts are there. We're not gaslighting me. We're not doing devil's advocate. Go fuck around with somebody else and go find out. That man lowered that flag for that white supremacist and told us to honor his legacy. Honor his legacy. That is what Governor Shapiro did. I will never forget it because I got that statement in my I was shocked. Fine, lower the flag of Hazmat. Kiss Trump's ass if you want to. But that's what you did. And then you also, before that, compared those Muslim pro-Palestinian students on Penn's campus as the KKK. How fucking dare you? Where was turning down the temperature then? Why is it that toning down the temperature only is to appeal to racists and bigots, right? Oh, so when they're anti-Semitic, you don't mind turning up the heat and the rhetoric when they're anti-Semitic. But let them be racist, let them be bigots, let them be everything else, and somehow you find a level of grace and diplomacy with everybody else. That is the shit I'm talking about. That is the Shapiro problem when it comes to this issue, is that Shapiro has a double standard when it comes to calling out and speaking out. I'm not talking randomly. He has a double standard. He will turn up the political rhetoric to anti-Semitism. He will make blatant comparisons and go there. But when it comes to issues around white supremacy, racism, and anti-immigration, he will have a different type of tune. It needs to be said. It needs to be said. I'm going to call it out. I am. I'm calling it out. I'm going to pull out receipts. I'm just going to name the thing. It's just going to be an observation with receipts. And I'm naming it right here on this show. I've heard enough. I've seen enough. There is a pattern. And he's got to address it. Because I'm back. I'm back. I'm back in Philly. I'm back on the job. I'm back at it. And I'm calling as I see it. So, he's got a lot to do. This book that he's written, as expected, people are beginning to recognize. Now, Cory Booker, who I hear might be having a book coming out very soon, too, before the 2028 presidential election. My sources have told me this. The tea is hot. Well, apparently, he's been changing up his tune and giving us more videos with him and his wife. awkward videos, videos that I feel like, I just have to say this. She's old enough to be his daughter. And there's like a vibe where sometimes I look at the video, I'm like, is that his daughter? I'm like, no, that's his wife, Ernest. Stop it. Um, he's been changing his tune on ICE, speaking out on it, talking about changes in funding systems. But moderate Democrats, I'll say, even Shapiro, they're very, very selective with their words. Like they're saying things like what's happening in Minneapolis. Like they're specifically speaking about ICE in Minneapolis. Because the governor needs to be real. Are you collaborating with ICE in Pennsylvania? Is there like a level of cooperation there? Let us know. Do share. Ilhan Omar, who's a congresswoman in Minnesota, she was sprayed. She was safe, but the way she squared up on that guy who showed up to her press conference, and it was scary to watch that video because it was like, well, what is it? And she got up. Listen, she was ready. Now, you know, with all these assassination attempts happening, you can never be sure people's safety. Trump basically tried to accuse this woman of it being a hoax, like some type of stunt. And I said, now, Trump, let's not go there. Because when you had your attacks, nobody could speculate or question the conspiracies that people were trying to make, right? It was considered tasteless to do that. Now, you over here doing it now. See, not gonna go there. Not saying that on this show. Nope. I put that somewhere else. I can't. Listen. I want to keep this podcast going because, listen, y'all know. I'm just saying. Like, but what if? But how? But make that, sir. I know you're not doing that about that when we had already seen. And I mean, you can. Right. See what I'm doing here, y'all? Y'all know what I'm saying. You're picking up what I'm putting down. Because, and I'm going to rest on that. That's all. That's all I'm going to say on that. a second time, a third. Okay. Look at the timing, though. Look at the timing. I'm just saying the timeline when these things were happening. Okay. See what I'm doing there? Y'all not going to quote me. All right. I just thought that was interesting for him to call that a hoax. Of all people. So, someone asked me this question in my DMs, said, what is the Democratic Party plan for 2028? Honestly, it's too early, right? How are we going to put differences aside and do what needs to be done to make sure we win that 2028 election? Listen, I don't know. I don't. I'm not a part of the Democratic Party establishment. I don't know. And even if I had a thought, right, they're not going to do it because these people are in bed. Like I want to be clear that I'm of the notion. I'm getting very close to this notion, and I know this might sound cynical as fuck, but I've seen enough already. I'm going to do this, and listen. I hope this lands right, but I believe that you all are very smart people and you're going to understand what I'm saying when I say this. And if you don't, oh well. All right, let me say this. On the federal level, like the federal level, Democrats and Republicans in Congress with the exception of that mega, fraction of the party. These people hang out with each other. They go to lunch. They get dinner together. They make money together. They grift together. They have stock in these problematic ass fucking corporations together. They go to the same parties. They hang out with the same funders. They get money from some of the same donors. They are literally in the same orbit. They have their policy beefs. They put on performances, but a lot of them are not that far apart in some of their ideologies. Now, there are some extremists on both sides, but that middle core, they've been knowing each other and they've been in Washington for over 20 years. They didn't become who they were just because Trump got in office. They were who they were for decades. Like Mitch McConnell has been Mitch McConnell. Okay? Like, that's just U.S. government history. Like, I studied this in college. Mitch McConnell has been a problem. Okay, the Federalist Society, they've been a fucking problem. Like, how do you think we got Trump, right? So let me put y'all on game, because I think some people get caught up in the now, and there's a lot of revisionist history. And as somebody who really have been following politics for over a decade, and way before Trump was even a thought, okay, these Republicans have been who they've been. Did we not forget the Supreme Court? Did we not forget about Robert Bork? Did we not forget about how Clarence Thomas got sworn in? Like, they've been who they've been. Their ideas about society, women's rights, and issues been. But guess who's been with them? Hang out with them, calling them friends, having bipartisan relationships. Oh, these Democrats, these moderate centrist Democrats who's been around just as long as them. They'll talk about how they all go to each other's weddings and their kids are hanging out, and these are good people. These are people that have been cool with these people. Okay? So let's just be clear about the context here. Democrats are not just these superhero Avengers that are like on their own island and they're up against opposition. That's part of the reason why a lot of policy changes have not happened, because they've brokered deals. They've made agreements amongst themselves to, measure, okay, what am I going to say? What am I not going to say? Where do I go from here? Like, everybody needs to be real about that. So that is why, even in Harrisburg, right? Like, why is it stagnant in the Senate? Why is it that they sit up here and they play in our fucking faces and say, oh, Republicans won't move on this and they're just so difficult, blah, blah, blah. But then you all hang out and go to lunch and tap each other on the back. Respectfully, I've gone to Harrisburg and I've seen the parties. I've seen it. They'll sit up, right, and they'll argue with each other publicly and talk their share press conferences. But y'all, throughout the evenings, they're going to these donor events and they're all buddy-buddy and schmoozing with each other and acting like they're kids in high school. Like, this is the bullshit. And so when you're trying to figure out why things are moving at a glacial pace, it's because these fucking centrists and moderates who are literally happy to be in the fucking room, and they've decided amongst themselves what wins they're going to take and which ones they're not. And it's always this sense of like, okay, as long as we're going upward mobility. But the moment a presidential race happens, then they play teams. These are not your fucking friends. But they all want to be liked, because a lot of them are losers. A lot of them are people that they didn't go to college, they didn't achieve things. Some of them never got that girlfriend, they never got that partner in crime. Not a partner. I don't use that word. A partner in crime. They never had real friends. They never had ride or dies. They never got invited to parties. They never really had any swag. And then they run for office, and now they think they're powerful and they think they're fucking important. Like, they walk around and everything they do and say is, oh, as a person, like they all just, they're clout chasing. They want to say that they want to solve problems and save the world and all that bullshit. Most of them don't. They want a check. They want good benefits. They want to fill in. And because of the world leader system, it allows a lot of people who have no business in government get opportunities in government to maintain the status quo. The Democratic Party do not elect these people. They select these people. These people are not elected. They're selected. A couple of them have been elected. They fought like tough races, but most of them have been selected. Oh, y'all didn't think I was going to go that real. Y'all don't think I know this. Yeah, I do. And if you pay close attention, you notice that I see the shit for what it is. So when you're asking me, what's the plan? I mean, what I would do if I was in their shoes, but they won't do it because they're not as real. But I would actually force these Republicans to change their actual ways by not compromising in this era because y'all have gone too far. See, when we was in the Mitt Romney era of the Republican Party, even Bush was too far in my opinion. Let's not let him off the hook. But see, there was an era of etiquette. And when Trump got elected, that went out the window. And there are still Democrats and Republicans who really think that Trump is a phase and he's not the end all. Even when Trump leaves, because Trump has moved and pushed the envelope so far, there is now a possibility model for other people to go. I think people feel like Obama getting elected was the liberals' era to go as extreme. They think that was so extreme to have a black male president, right? Okay. But now they're like, okay, we need to have our extreme moment. So I feel like there's like trade-offs and there's compromising that's happening. And as long as we have this brokered system, I don't know. I just feel like I'm looking at where you get your stocks. I'm looking at what parties you go to. I'm looking at who funds your campaigns. It's too much overlap. It's too much overlap for me to truly believe that Democrats are genuinely, these Democrats at least, are genuinely trying to change because they really could. And what's funny to me is that when they had the majority of the House and the Senate things, they didn't do too much that could have been done. And I don't give a fuck about these content creators and these influencers that want to sit up here and read shit to people like, baby, I'm a journalist, honey. You aggregate. And there's no disrespect, no shade, no shade, no shade. But when you're out here breaking the news rather than reading talking points that's given to you by super PACs and elected officials so you can get your little free food and drink, give me a call. Just saying. Now, media changes that's been taking place. TikTok, as we know it, is a wrap. A lot of people have been deactivating and unsubscribing from TikTok, given the fact that they've changed their policy that is now asking for all kind of information. Y'all know how I feel about TikTok. Y'all know I've been off the TikTok. Listen, I'm a trendsetter. I've been told you all TikTok was not the place to be, but y'all was just so addicted. I was like, nah, TikTok just... I had to do it for 5 seconds to promote my first book. Never again, baby. Never again. You better go find someone else to do it. Cause I was sitting there looking like y'all got me chopped. Y'all got me chopped. The stuff that I was seeing, baby. Listen, could it be me? Could it be me? Taking all that in. So, some interesting things. Very interesting things. Amazon Fresh. Like actual store locations. They're shutting down. They just built one recently in Philadelphia. I never went to it, but it was like, I think in Fishtown, Northern Liberties. And a lot of people were really into this Amazon Fresh store, saying that it was cheaper than some of the other grocery stores in the area. Well, those stores are getting shut down. There's going to be some massive job cuts at Amazon. Yeah, Bezos is Bezosing. There's even a speculation that there's a strong possibility that there might even be some issues with Washington Post. Bezos owns the Washington Post, by the way, for those who did not know. He owns the Washington Post. There is a chance that there might be some layoffs connected to that. So we're going to see where that plays out. Now, choices got to be made. Choices got to be made. Now, Gavin Newsom's new memoir is coming out. It is very telling, this book. I got a chance to read it. Yeah, I've been reading a lot, y'all. I got to. Young Man in a Hurry. A Memoir of Discovery. Now, he's 58 years old. The book is, you know, the book is telling some big stuff that I picked up. He talks about how he really, okay, let me just start off by saying I liked his book more than Josh Shapiro's book. Just want to say that. Liked it more than Josh Shapiro's book. And listen, this book, I got to say this, is the kind of book, yes, he is clearly running for 2028. It's obvious. But I do feel like he gives us more. And he's not hiding that. So he talks about, his life, his upbringing, right? His father had, wealthy friends, but he also was raised by a single mother. Like he was raised by a single parent. Like, he talks about it, talks about his upbringing. His father was very absent in his childhood and, rarely expressed his love. And that was something he talked about. That explains a little bit about him. He also talks about being married to Eric. Is it Eric Jump? I think it's very interesting. The woman Kimberly Guilfoyle, she was married to Donald Trump Jr. They weren't married. They were engaged. They were engaged. They've been engaged since 2020, but then they broke up in 2024, and then he got recently engaged in 2025 to Bettina Anderson. And they're saying that it's all well, like there's no problems between them. That's what she's saying. She is now the U.S. ambassador to Greece. So they ended a relationship in 2024, and that was for 4 years they were engaged. But before Kimberly Guilfoyle got on Mega and Trump, she was married to Gavin Newsom. And he talks about that in his book. He describes them as a union of two ambitious climbers. Oh, yeah, he goes there. One thing that I thought was very, very interesting in the book was that he talks about his evolution on Trump, like why he has become super anti-Trump and his approach to it. Because 10 years ago, he basically was like, look, he didn't think that attacking Trump, he thought attacking Trump was a losing game. He changed his perspective on that. And that was very telling. Very telling within itself. Don Lemon has been making the media rounds. I should mention that Don Lemon has been making his media rounds, and it's been refreshing. He went on Jimmy Kimmel on Monday night talking about the arrest, when he got arrested. Very, very, very scary stuff. Very scary stuff to just hear him do the play-by-play. He said he was offered to turn himself in, but pretty much he was arrested because they wanted to embarrass him. And he said that truly they want to instill fear. Yeah. Very powerful stuff. And then I must make this note. Sherri Shepherd's show. Sherri, the Sherri Shepherd show? Sherri show is being canceled. That is what's being speculated. I don't know if anybody knew this, but after 4 years, after 4 seasons, her show is being canceled amid a very evolving daytime television landscape. There's a lot of shakeups. She was the one who kind of replaced the Wendy Williams show. And, it's already been announced that Kelly Clarkson's show, she's officially announced that her own daytime show was ending as well. So we're losing Sherri. The last episodes are going to be set to air in the fall. And we're also losing the Kelly Clarkson show, which was more popular. So what are my thoughts about this? I think this era of streaming, nobody's really watching daytime television. I just want to say that. Like, no one is watching daytime TV like they used to. I mean, there's no more Maury. Ellen got canceled, you know. I don't really know what's they're watching. I mean, I think people like the Jennifer Hudson show, even though I find it personally to be a little boring. I'm not really into the show. I think she's just not a good interviewer. I don't get it. I think the thing that makes her show popular is when they come through that little dance thing. Like, everyone shares that more than they actually share interview clips. Like, I don't know. I'm just like Jennifer Hudson. I don't know. She has an EGOT, so who am I to talk? I mean, she has an EGOT, so. But I don't know. I don't. This TV show hosting thing is just like, you know, at a show and then it didn't happen. Like, it was an era where everyone would have a show. This reminds me like the early 2010s, around that time. Do you all remember that Queen Latifah had a show called The Queen Latifah Show? It didn't really take off, but Queen Latifah had a talk show. I don't know why everyone thought this whole making people, people did it really well, right? Ellen DeGeneres, she did well. Rosie O'Donnell did it really well. Rosie O'Donnell did her big one. We've had plenty of lesbians that did daytime TV. Ellen and Rosie don't have a good relationship, apparently. But yeah, a lot of people are trying to do talk shows now. I mean, Kelly Clarkson's show worked because pretty much we got a mini concert. Like, we got a mini concert in her. Like, she would perform. And so the musical acts and the music and the singing were good. So that's what I think really helped her show. Now, you know who has a good show? I don't know if, I think, okay, so the reason why I think Sherry Shepherd's show, because she wasn't trying to do Wendy. The reason why I think her show did not work as well is because there's overlap. Tamron Hall is just a better journalist. Like, Tamron Hall's show, I think she's got a really good show. Now, I've watched some of her show. She really has good interviews. I think Sherry Shepherd, her interviews, I don't know what she was bringing new to the medium. Like, there was if you're going to replace Wendy, you have to, you have to bring the mess. Wendy's show was successful because Wendy had a very clear identity. Her identity was, I'm going to give you page 6 gossip. I'm going to bring some celebrities, but I'm going to have some fun. But the hot topics of her show was fire. And she would say bold things and have that fun. There was no one else doing a show like that on daytime. Wendy had that. Sherry, you get on there and you want to be funny. Like, you're not that funny. You're not. No shade. Like, I can say it now. You have done some incredible things. Like, I cannot, you've had a career, like, you've had a TV career. You was on The View. But when you do your own show, you just have to have a little bit more spark. And I don't think she ever really had a strong spark or justification for the show, because the show was crowded right now with a lot of women, but also Tamron Hall. And so I kept telling myself, Tamron Hall has carved a niche for her show. She interviews some celebrities, but she really has these deep, compelling interviews that are like, she goes there. But Tamron Hall has that credibility where she can have a serious type of show. I think Sherry Shepherd just want to be funny and likable and just want to be that, be cool. And it's like, there's too many people on TV with this. I don't know what was unique about her show. It just felt like a filler. And even if she didn't want to be Wendy, she should have figured out what was going to make that show very different than what else is out there. So, yeah. Now, with local politics, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that we're all at the edge of our seats, at least right now, figuring out what Shapiro is going to do with his budget address. Shapiro has a budget address to give. We all want to hear from it. We all want to know about it. We're all at the edge of our seats. It's going to be done later on Tuesday. But we're at the edge of our seats. Shapiro is scheduled to make his 4th and final budget address of his first term. What is going on with this structural deficit to confront? The ongoing funding pressures, this re-election campaign. He's got a lot. And other things happening locally. The Trump administration has been quiet. He's quietly purchased a 520,000 square foot warehouse in Berks County. And he plans to convert those facilities into immigration detention centers across the country. Yes, he's purchased this warehouse in Berks County in our own Commonwealth. It's a lot to take in. Now, receipts are out. LinkedIn co-founder and billionaire Reid Hoffman, who was in those Epstein, emails, show that he traveled to those properties. He apparently gave over $1.5 million to Josh Shapiro from 2021 to 2023. See, this is what we're talking about. Like the LinkedIn co-founder, that billionaire Reid Hoffman, this guy who's on Epstein, go to Epstein properties. He's giving money to Governor Josh Shapiro. Gave over 1.5 million between 2021 and 2023. Remember what I said earlier? Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Okay. Because I don't want to hear. I'm just putting that there. Just go put that out there. Just, fun fact. Fun fact, So, Mayor Sherelle Parker. There's a lot going on in this Parker administration. While I was going, I was following everything. I saw her do her big one, finally. Gave us a video statement talking about what's going on with Independence Mall and, of course, the Black history that was taken off at Independence Mall by federal government, the Department of Interior. Parker administration finally releases her doing a video talking about, a lot of things, okay? She had a lot of things to say, but she talked about the lawsuit. She calls it a lawsuit. She doesn't name Trump. She doesn't say Trump in her speech, but she does say lawsuit. And she does make it a point to talk about the importance of Black history. It was a great speech. It was good. It's about damn time, right? But I feel like she's dodging the ICE conversation, though. And it's interesting because I'm going to read to you all this statement that she gave, but I want to take a moment to talk about City Council. City Council did their big one. And a lot's been said. And City Council they're stepping up in ways that we've always wanted. There is an ICE out bill that has come out. And this ICE out bill there's 17 members of City Council. 15 out of the 17 of them co-sponsored the bill, which means that is veto proof, right? You have to get 2/3 of council to block a veto from the mayor. So the mayor, if she does not sign it herself, she chooses to veto it, it will be blocked by City Council because they have a majority. And now it has not been voted on, but you're going to say, well, why do you know it's a majority? The co-sponsorship of the ICE out policy is 15. Now, I'm not going to tell you who all signed it. I'm going to tell you who didn't sign it because it's like literally everybody signed it except 2 people. The lone Republican, Brian O'Neill, he did not sign it, and he's in Northeast. And then the Democrat who did not sign it was Jim Driscoll. Driscoll in the Northeast, who's a Democrat, did not sign it. Now, this is not to say that Driscoll will not vote for it. We don't know how he's going to vote, but he did not co-sponsor it for whatever reason. That's what we're talking about, y'all. So, clarity for those who understand how this bill will help in 4 ways. This is according to Kendra Brooks, who took the lead on this with Rue Landau. They're both members of the city council. They went on CNN. Here's what the policy is doing. 4 things. ICE out of the shadows. They're going to prohibit ICE and other law enforcement agents from hiding their identity with face coverings and unmarked vehicles. Also requires them to display a badge. ICE out of city functions. They're going to prevent the city from collaborating with federal immigration enforcement, banning agreements which allow local police to act as ICE agents, and prohibiting city agencies from collaborating with ICE. They're also going to ICE out of city data. They're going to prevent city agencies from collecting citizenship and immigration status data and prohibit sharing of any kind of personal data with ICE, keeping all of our confidential information safe. They're also going to ICE out of city spaces. They're going to prohibit ICE from using city-owned properties as staging locations for raids and barring employees from granting ICE access to city-owned spaces. That includes libraries, shelters, health centers, or rec centers without a judicial warrant. Now, that is what they're doing. Powerful legislation. Good shit. We love policy. And it's looking very good. I was quite impressed. Now, what was the Parker administration statement? Listen very carefully. I'm going to read it. This is how it was said. Mayor Sherelle L. Parker's statement on legislation introduced today in City Council. Quote, since day one of my administration, the public health and public safety of every Philadelphia resident has always been my number one priority, and that will never change. We are aware of the potential challenges that we face, and we understand the public's fear of the unknown as it relates to federal policy associated with immigration. We stand on every commitment that we have already made. As is our standard operating procedure with any bills introduced by City Council, I look forward to reviewing the legislation, which we just received yesterday, with our legislative experts in the law department. We have a comprehensive approach to public safety, and we will always be prepared for any emergency, as we have consistently demonstrated and will continue to demonstrate. I have a great deal of faith in our public safety leaders, our subject matter experts, who I asked to be a part of this team, and we're going to do our best to work in an intergovernmental fashion along with City Council to keep every Philadelphian safe. Sherelle Parker. That's her statement. Notice that she does not say ICE. Notice that she does not speak very directly to what is being proposed in this legislation. It sounds like a word salad, and she left off the ICE. I guess it's not a chilled salad. It's a warm salad. The lettuce, it was soggy. It's a word salad. I mean, she could have summed that up in one word. Not one word, but like one paragraph. Simply saying, I've seen the legislation. I'm going to let my team look into it further. And just want you all to know that we've been doing the work regardless. Stay tuned. Bye. That's really her statement. That's really what she's saying. The regurgitation, the fucking redundancy, the run-on sentences, the conjecture. Like, what are we doing here? Like, a bunch of nothing. I mean, to surmise it, right? She's pretty much saying, I see what you all are doing. I recognize that there are people who have a lot of uncertainty about what's going on. Just know that we're working on something. We're looking into something. Our team has been, I guess that's her statement. Maybe that's her statement. Maybe that was a statement that I've been waiting for. Oh, was that the statement? Oh, okay. I guess that was the statement. That's it. See, my issue is the Parker administration is always reactive. That statement, which really didn't say much, they could have said that shit when the protest happened. Like, why are you waiting to be reactive and responsive to legislation that's being done by city council? And the whole narrative from the park administration is, what can we actually do? And literally, city council members said, here's what you can do, motherfucker. Like, they did it. When everyone was saying, what can we do? City council did it. And Council President Keanu Johnson's ass is supporting it. Like, y'all are getting played, park administration. They're over here defending you in one breath, but then they're also showing your weaknesses. Sign the damn bill in law. Sign it. Sign it. Support city council. And let's keep it fucking moving. If the mayor does not sign that legislation, oh my God. Like, listen, I will call it unredeemable. This is her opportunity to get something back. Like, let us know your politics. Sign the damn bill. It's getting passed by city council. Sign it. Because if you don't sign it, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. I think she is, but we got to find out. We got to find out. Now, on the topic of ICE, I had Keisha Hudson on my show. My latest episode of On the Record with Ernest Owens. Great show, as you all know. Here's the thing, the takeaways. Did you all know the Chief Public Defender's Office only has $950,000 they get funded by the city? That's it. Keisha, who's the Chief Public Defender of the Defenders Association of Philadelphia, they're doing a fundraiser. They're about to launch a fundraiser to raise funds, which is ridiculous to me that they have to have a fundraiser. Like, they're not asking for more money. They would like more money in the budget, but they're prepared with their $950,000 budget to basically create a unit that will specify in providing legal services for those people who are impacted by ICE in Philadelphia. She was giving me some great stats. There's over 300,000 immigrants in Philadelphia. That's like about 20%, like over maybe a quarter of the city's population is immigrants. When I found out it was $950,000 is what that defender's office get. First of all, this is an office that defends people in general, not just people related to ICE or connected to this issue, but people in general. Like, how does our public defender's office have less than $1 million from the city? Like, what? Like it just shows you the priorities of a budget. It's almost like they don't want to fund it because they basically want to assume that law enforcement, when they make arrests or they charge people, that representation that these are actual criminals. But we know how the criminal justice system works. So she talked about that. It looks like there's some push to get city council to increase the budget. I hope they do. But we're going to see on that. I'll keep you all updated. Now, in regards to this, now I have an update. And this is an Ernestly Speaking exclusive. Sources are telling me that there's a lot of drama right now with that Office of LGBT Affairs Director position. Now, previously reported on this podcast, we kind of broke this news that a man named, I think his name is David Jenkins. David Alexander Jenkins. He was being speculated as the front runner for this position. Okay. It's now being said that there is some back and forth in the community. The community is trying to find an alternative that is not him. There are some close advisors that have been lobbying the park administration to reconsider him. I won't get into the mess. It's all, this is all allegedly. I have to say allegedly, but these are very close sources that have said that there has been, I can say on the record, that there have been individuals in the LGBTQ community in Philadelphia, some prominent leaders, will not name their names, that when I broke the news that David Alexander Jenkins was in the running, because I can confirm from close sources that are close to the Park administration that he is being considered. That is a fact. We can now say that, which I already said already, but want to just make it clear for those in the room that there are some people who are very concerned about him having the position. I will not get into the allegations. I think that is not, I will not speak on that. I will say that there has been no criminal allegations surrounding him. But I think people, what I will say, just so that we're clear, that there are people that are questioning his experience level. There are questions about his maturity. He's not young, but just his maturity in the role. And also his connection to the community at large. Now, he is a Black gay man. This is a fact. But just because you are from the community don't mean you're amongst the community. There is a difference. And so there are some questions about it. And so what I've heard lately is that the name of the alternative that is being possibly vetted or looked into is a man named Tito Valdez. Now, those who know Tito, Tito has been in the community. Tito formerly dated and was engaged to a openly gay sheriff who passed away due to suicide, named Dante Austin. Tito Villain, I don't want to mispronounce his name, but Tito is an attorney. He's definitely known in the community. Tito Valdez is his name. Yeah, Tito Valdez is his name. He has been around in the community. A lot of people know him. He's in the legal field. He's openly gay. He's Latino. A lot of people know him. Very popular. Definitely have been in the LGBTQ community in the community, like in the work, has served on boards and committees. Like, he's known. He's very much so known. And his high profile relationship with Dante Austin, this man got proposed to during Pride. And I want to say that was many, many years ago. Their relationship had its outs, but he does a lot of advocacy work and a lot of people in the community likes him. And so apparently I've heard that, he has, been talked about as the possible, successor to, Ty Brown. So it looks like there's going to be a match. What I will tell you is that at this point, I am confident in my prediction that it's either going to be Tito or it's going to be David. I think the fight is between those two. Not fight, but I'm curious what's going to happen. And that's why there's been delay. Because my announcement apparently sent shockwaves in the community, and it got people, like, will David Alexander Jenkins be boyked? Like a Supreme Court justice. Like when a president announces their Supreme Court, like who they're going to put up for the Supreme Court, the knives come out, The knives come out. People are ready to knives out. People are like, wait a minute, hold up, stop that. And so I think that's what happened with David Alexander Jenkins. I think that there was some knives out. Now, I'm going to say this on my podcast, and I'm going to say it right here on my podcast, and I'm not going to go outward about this. But respectfully, David, buddy, you don't know me like that. And I keep it classy. But I hear you've been running my name in some circles with some people and insinuating how I'm getting my information and name dropping certain people that I know. And I just want to say that I found out about your situation from you. And let me make that make sense. You've been running around telling people that you're pretty much about to get this job. You've been in circles up and down the neighborhood and other networks acting like you're about to get this new position. You told them yourself, I didn't need anybody to leak anything to me. You've been doing it. So if you want people to know how I knew, it was because you told people in various circles who tipped me off and told me. You're the source. So we can be clear. Since you want to run around and speculate and talk to certain people, trying to figure out how I knew, you told yourself. Let me tell y'all something. Let me say this. There's a lot of people who in the community, in various communities, not just LGBTQ community or whatever, but there's people in the communities, various communities, right, that will tell all their business in the streets and then act like somebody's obsessed or somebody is leaking and breaking and no, it'd be their own mouths, which is why a lot of them don't even counter what the fuck I be talking about. Because I know for a fact that David Alexander Jenkins ran around and told people. He know he has. He knows the people he done ran and told things to. You good, Judy Janice Armstrong? Oops. 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 Because she's been having my name in her mouth. I haven't spoken to her in years. She's backstabbing. She backstabbed me. She's one of those people. Yeah. A snake. Snake-like behavior. I don't think I've said Janice Armstrong's name in God knows how many years. But one of the most fake, backstabbing, gatekeeping, shady people in this Philadelphia media market that I've dealt with. She's done a lot of harm to a lot of different people. And if I would have thought that I called this woman a mentor 10 years ago, that this was somebody I looked up to, please. And I don't say many names. I don't say, y'all like, I know y'all listen like, oh shit, let me turn this back on. I didn't know y'all running, like y'all, some of y'all like, whoa, where did this go? This been left. Yeah, it got left. It got left. Because I always tell people, do what you do, but watch my shoes. Watch my shoes. Because I keep it classy. I could go in about things that I know and things that's been said. But I want to just say to Alex, to David, to your little tea time conversations about me with Janice, all that shit y'all talking, you won't say it to my face. You won't say it to my face. I'm aware of your conversations. Huh. But y'all think y'all got friends though. Now go run that. Now go run that. Since everybody want to know who said what, who told who, woo. I name names. I live on a playground. So if you're confused about how I found out, one, stop telling all your shit to Janice, because Janice is what? She talks, right? And you go back and you tell the things that Janice tell you to other people, and the shit comes back to me too. So y'all both spilling each other's tea, and the shit's coming to me. So I want y'all to know, on Ernestly Speaking, that I know that both of y'all got my name in y'all mouth, and y'all had y'all own conversations, and y'all both are leaking each other's secrets to other people, and then now to circle back to me. So now y'all gotta go figure out in real time, how the fuck does Ernest know that me and y'all are talking about what? Who are y'all telling things to? And y'all gotta go figure out. Because then I can tell you who you told it to. Because that's not your friend either. That's why I'm none of y'all friends. Because I know how y'all do. oh shit. See, that's the fun I have. That's the fun I have. When you're the person that can stand 10 toes down your shit, and you could be able to say, oh, let me tell y'all what y'all doing. Let me tell y'all how y'all are fake together. Because while you're telling her your shit, she's dry snitching to other people. I can name the names, and you're telling people your business. You don't know how to hold no water, David. Which is why you're most likely not going to get this job. Cat's out the bag. Don't fuck with me. Now what? Now what? Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying, because I'll just name more names. We can do this all day. Okay. Because that's what a journalist do, baby. They get the sources, baby. Because I don't give a fuck. I don't. Why am I in the business to protect Janice Armstrong? This woman left me out for the limbs. Smiled in my face. Went to my wedding. Her and Sarah Glover, fake as fuck. Yes, I don't care. We're here. I'm him. I'm tired. I'm not going to sit up and protect folks that will continue to play with my name in these streets and I told people, I will protect you if you're willing to protect yourself. I will not say, but when you say my name and you talk shit about me in public spaces, all bets are off. You could have sat there in Princeton, because you ain't lived in Philadelphia in God knows how long. That's why your stories are trash, because you're not here. You're never hardly in Philly. You live in Princeton, and you're reporting across Jersey about Philadelphia shit. You regurgitate the same sources. Your columns are washed up. Your takes are dated. Like, let's not. You chose to be the token at the Inquirer. You chose to be the pick me so you can keep a job. You're horrible to any young black voices that come in there. You're not mentoring a goddamn person. You're too busy trying to cling on to whatever relevance you still have. And you and Melanie Burney and all of you all over there can continue to sit up and act like you're there before you all get laid off, until you all take your buyout. How embarrassing that you had to literally put a column out to hopefully get a raise. Because y'all got that old school dated mindset, that plantation politics that y'all play with the press. And if someone like me come in and you smile, but you talk your shit. And all I'm saying is, I've been nice, but you're not going to poke this bear. You're not. Now go have tea time with David and go talk about something else other than me. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you don't got no friends. Your friends come and tell me shit. And you think I'm friends with them? I'm not friends with them. I just take the tea. But that's how the shit leaked, just in case you want to know. No, nobody in the press office at the mayor's office told me. Despite your speculation, they actually don't. Actually, friends and people I know that's in the park administration make it a point. I don't need them to tell me. It will be a conflict of interest. Okay? I don't need anybody in there. I've been doing this shit for fucking over a decade. I don't need any of my friends or people that work in administration to leak anything to me. I don't. Before they were working there, I was getting information. While they're working there, I get the information. I am that bitch. Stop fucking with me. There's a lot of things I know. There's a lot of things I hear. And earnestly speaking, I tell you all, you get about maybe 10% of what I share. But I want to let it be known right here, right now, that anyone who wants to play like that with me, be prepared for that response. And I know people are going to go back, as you should, and say, listen, the cat's out the bag. Y'all got Ernest's name in here. Listen, he know. Because I'm not going to put it all on social. I'm not going to go into I'm not doing the back and forth on social. No, I'm going to put in my words the way I want to put it here. I'm going to put it here and name it. And tell me you didn't do it. Tell the lie. You did. You did. And guess what? David's telling other people, sweetheart. And you're telling people. And they're telling me. Okay. I'm done. I just wanted to just name it. People caught some strays. But I just want to let people know. Because I know a lot of people out here, I know what y'all saying. One of my good friends work for the park administration. We don't agree. We don't have agreements. We don't agree on everything. But here's the thing. Anybody, my husband, worked for council member Catherine Gimmer Richardson. Let me let y'all know how much I stand on business. Since people want to talk shit. Because listen, we listen. Listen, I'm up and it's stuck. We turned. A lot of y'all listen to the show like, oh shit, the tea is hot. Let me see. This is why I listen to Ernestly speak. That's what y'all saying. So y'all like, oh shit. Let me say this, because I want to be very clear. And any of my friends know this. Any of my real friends, anybody who work in government, y'all know how I do. I got mentees. I got people. They know this about me. For starters, I will tell T and they'll go back and go, oh shit, good catch. Oh, I didn't know you knew that. They don't tell me. I don't even put them in a position to. I don't have to. Because when you do it the way I do it, you've done it for so long, you're going to always get the answer. You got to remember, I didn't get a press badge until recently. The Kennedy administration locked me the fuck out of everything, and I was breaking stories. You got to remember, a year ago, before anybody I knew was in that administration, I was the one that told y'all about the 76 Arena deal. I don't need any of my friends to compromise their role. Actually, it's fun for them not to. Let me tell you, my husband was the comms director for Catherine Gimmer Richardson. People assumed, oh, Kathy ain't never gonna get criticized. Ernest ain't never gonna say something because, blah, 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 blah. No. There's no pillow talking in that regard. If I do what I do, I do what I do. I'll give you an example. When the situation went down with the Krasner video of him with the convicted pedophile Steve Jones, who was a ward leader at the time, who stepped down after I broke the story that Krasner was there. I got that video footage and I shared it. A lot of people was shocked, including Catherine Gimmer Richardson herself. She was pissed off at me. I can say it, because she was in the video with Steve Jones, and that was in her ward. She's now the ward leader of that district, of that ward. She's now the ward leader. She replaced him. And she was pissed because of the fact that there was insinuations that she might have been complicit. And here's my thoughts about this. I'm never going to shy away from my opinion about the situation. I don't care what the situation is. Politics is politics. I'm a political journalist. I'm not going to shy away from it. Because I think people was like, oh, well, how can you do that to Kathy? What do you mean, how can I do that to Kathy? I did my job. Okay, I don't do PR. My husband's her comms director. I am not. He was her comms director. I am not. I'm not in the business of making any politician look good. I report the facts. She was in the video. She was there. Krasner was there too. It was what it was. You got to ask her, how much did she know? Because I didn't go there. Because to be honest, it was not about her. But she was in the video, along with other elected officials, okay? Whatever it insinuates, that's not my responsibility. I don't create the insinuation. But I will say this. You knew Mr. Steve, clearly. You was in the committee, clearly. Everybody in that circle knew that he was being tried. His trials went on for several years. Since 2023, he was going through certain trials. Registered sex offender. Like, let's be clear. That was going on with his granddaughter. Okay? That man was on house arrest. Like, I'm sorry, but we got to be real. We got to be fucking for real right now. I don't know how it got turned raw, but I don't know. Because I just need to get some things off my chest. And I think now's the time to wrap this up and put this in perspective. So if y'all are like, wow, it went left. It did go left, because I think it's important to note this, because I want to say this and I don't want to repeat myself. But my thoughts were, if the insinuations were there, let's talk about the insinuations. Don't say I insinuated anything. You're in a vicinity with a man who was convicted of being a pedophile. That conviction Before the conviction, that man went through a series of trials, okay? Democratic elected judges recused themselves from that case because they got ward endorsements from him, okay? You was in the committee. You was in that ward. You cannot tell me you did not know anything about it. It was talks amongst the party for years. Why was he still there? So sit in that discomfort, sit in that shame and reflection and figure out why. And this is what I'm talking about earlier. This is the theme. Democrats will be complacent with shit in their own fucking backyards. If it was a Republican, y'all would have aired him out to the guillotine, you would have said. But when it's your own party, all of a sudden, innocent until proven guilty. That man was convicted and he was there. And you can't sit up and tell me that no one knew. Krasner's like, oh, I didn't know. That was my, fuck that. Your fucking ADA, your assistant district attorney, your ADA literally had documentation that stated, okay, that there was a recusal from several judges. Anytime you're prosecuting someone and there's no way that you can stick them, it's gonna raise a red flag. Why would judges recuse themselves on multiple times on a case prosecuting a sex offender? Oh, because the motherfucker put his job as a ward leader. He is old. He was getting assistance and checks. He put his ward leader title on the document. You knew. You fucking knew. Stop lying. I'm sick of it. Steve Jones was identifying himself as a ward leader at the time in which he was going through those trials. Those judges were talking about it. They kept recusing themselves. Nick Kamal recused himself. Tamika, listen, you better look. The documents are there. The files are fucking there. This is public record. I shared them. Several of those judges recused themselves. That's why they couldn't do the first trial. It was like a mistrial or whatever. They did it again. They convicted him. The party knew. Bob Brady knew. So you were embarrassed because you was in the video because people was going to ask you those questions and you didn't want to address it. Well, fine. But don't you dare say that I was insinuating something. No, the insinuation was there the moment that it was shown that happened. And I didn't do that. I did my job. And I'm tired of people expecting favors and things. Stop it. Stop it. I won't take responsibility for doing anything that wasn't already shown and done. And that goes for Krasner. That goes for anybody who was in that video. You got to answer to that. And honestly, while people getting mad at me, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're a ward leader now. You're welcome. Wanted to be a ward leader. Wanted to be for a long time. And deserves it, right? But would have not gotten it had I not, in my own right, in my own coverage, exposed this man. So we were just going to have a convicted sex offender as a ward leader. We were just going to let that happen. He just coming up in the rooms, having parties and events on motherfucking house arrest. And that shit was normal. And nobody knew anything? Nothing? You mean that man been on trial for 2 years, going through the court system, and y'all didn't know nothing? Shut up. A lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Whether you wanted to believe it or not, you knew. You knew. And if you didn't know, then what kind of leader are you to be in a ward with all this stuff going on? You mean to tell me nobody knew? That is a lie. That's why people was mad. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I'm not at a certain point. You get to a certain level, you get to a certain age in your life. I'm about to be 35 later this year. I'm at a certain point in my life where I'm just not going to keep letting people play in my face. I'm not going to keep letting people carry narratives where I'm always going to be vilified. I'm not going to be vilified for shit that other people was wrong for. I'll own my shit, but I won't be vilified for shit that people actually did. If I am not the bad guy in the story, I'm not going to hold that. I'm not going to protect people that's going to slander me and throw me under the bus to cover their shit. I'm not doing that anymore. Own your shit or stop doing it. Or do whatever you do. But what? Watch my shoes. Do what you do, but watch my shoes. Because the moment you come over here stepping on my fucking toes, listen, that's all. We're going to move on. I just had to get off my chest. So this week's Ask Ernest, a lot of you all were talking to me about the situation with Chingy. I don't know if you all seen the interview with Chingy. He's a former rapper in the early 2000s who claims in many ways that he was dealing with homophobia in the midst of Sydney Starr. Sydney Starr is a transgender woman. She she's a media personality. I don't really know what she do. She was on Love and Hip Hop New York on this show. She was trying to be a rapper. This is many, 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 many years ago. But in 2010, she, who was a fan of Chingy, took a picture with Chingy. And then after that, she began to use the photo to falsely claim that she and the rapper were dating. Later on in 2012, she admitted that that was not true, that she made it all up, and tried to say that, oh, there were people around her that was telling her that she got to make this something big or something like that. That's what she says. Now, as a result of that, Chingy claims that his career took a backpedal, that he, hasn't been able to make money because of the rumors and things of that nature, the allegations. And, at a certain point in time, he almost did not want to take pictures with his homosexual, quote unquote, he said homosexual fans. Why can't we just be gay or queer or whatever? Like, why you going to, just going to say the whole H word, homosexual? Damn. But he said that he was at one point in time a little, hesitant to take pictures with his gay fans because of that, because he was afraid of what people were going to say, but then eventually talked himself out of it, like not deciding that that wasn't the way to be. So, he's stood on that or whatever. People say, what do I think about that? Like people like Sydney Starr, this and the third. I have a very nuanced take on this. Let me just start off by saying, before y'all act like, I won't say it. Let me just say that Sydney Starr was dead ass wrong for what she did, right? And I want to be clear. She's not just wrong because she's transgender. She's not wrong simply because, what that could do to that man's career. No. Let me be very clear. It is wrong for anyone to start a rumor about anyone, right? It is wrong for anyone to lie and accuse someone of having sex or having a relationship with them that's not real. In a Me Too era where, men are being accused of things and sometimes they've done it and sometimes whatever. We just cannot, women lying, right? Women lying on men in any type of capacity, anyone lying on anyone of any capacity is wrong, but it's especially wrong in that regard. So I think for her to lie on a public figure in that way, to attempt to potentially cause some level of harm or unnecessary drama to them, regardless of whether the nature of the relationship is. Like, let's say it was a cis het relationship that Sydney Starr was not trans and she was cisgender and she was whatever, right? And she went around saying she slept with Chingy. Even that alone is not okay. Like why are you giving that man a body that's not real? Like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think, for example, let's say that a rapper, a basketball player, was walking around saying that they messed around with Meg Thee Stallion, and that wasn't true. Like saying, oh yeah, me and her slept around with each other. Wouldn't you be offended? Yeah, I would be offended if someone was lying, saying about we had a relationship we didn't have. Like, that's messed up. Like, why would you do that to me? Right? So I just think, in this case with Chingy, somebody just out here lying on Chingy saying, yeah, I had Chingy this and third, like, to get clout, like, that's just fucked up within itself, right? So that alone is not okay. Like, I just think we tell, we got to be clear that everybody, every gender deserves respect in that regard when it comes to their body autonomy, right? And so if it's not okay for someone to do that to a woman, it should not be okay for them to do that to a man. So I just want to say on principle, just lying like that on somebody's body is just not okay. Fucked up. And she has said that, right? Clearly wrong. Now, that being said, I don't think that she's the only person wrong in this situation. And I want to say that I'm not saying that Chingy's wrong in this situation. I think the issue that's wrong here is that we're not having a conversation about lying in general. We're fixated on the fact that Sydney Starr is transgender, and we're saying that Chingy's career was ruined because of Sydney Starr. Let me be very clear. I think that's cap. I don't believe that, actually. And I'm going to tell you why. So let's be clear. Sydney Starr being transgender and saying that she slept with Chingy, the transphobia of society is the reason why he does not have his career. But I'm going to back down why I don't even think transphobia was the reason why. But let's just go back. Let me go back. So let me say why I don't think transphobia is the reason why Chingy doesn't have a career. Chingy had fell off by that point, okay? Like, Chingy was hot in the earlier part of the 2000s. By 2008, Chingy had fizzled out. Sydney Starr said this in 2010, or they met in 2010. Chingy's career was not, he had his biggest hits in his prime of his career. He was past his prime at that point. And so we're not going to act like Chingy was on top of the world and then quickly fell off. Chingy was already becoming a C-list act at that point. He was not an A-lister. He was not going on red carpets for any major things. I mean, Chingy was not like, he was not that dude like that at that point in his career. So it wasn't like, oh, he had all this fame and then suddenly, oh my goodness, this one thing was said and then his whole career was ruined. That's not, I don't, that doesn't, that near, like, if we know the timeline, y'all, okay, because let's be real, like, right there, like, Chingy had some hits, but them hits were, like, really early in his career. Like, we need to be really honest about that. Right there came out in 2003. Holiday Inn came out in 2003. Pulling Me Back came out in 2006. One Call Away came out in 2003. He's 45 years old. Y'all, that shit, like, his biggest hits came out like 22 years ago. When he was like 23, 22 years old. Like, I'm putting this in perspective here. Because y'all like, damn, Right There came out in 2003? Yes. Ballin' Baby, 2004. Pulling Me Back, 2006. I would say the beef with Nelly was what kind of made his career, like, he was beefing with Nelly in St. Louis. Like, him beefing with Nelly, we saw how that played out. Nelly came out on top. He used to tour with Nelly. He was an opening act with Nelly in 2002. So, when your last hit was in 2006, you ain't really put out nothing of substance since then. Okay. Now, this happened with Sydney Starr in 2010. The picture was. Your career was already fading at that point. But, like, so I don't think that was, he was already fading. Like, there was no motion. Let's start there. So that's the first thing I want to be clear about, right? I'm not saying it did not cause emotional distress and all other things, but I just want to be clear that I don't think his career, like, we're not going to act like Right There, like, his best years were behind him at that point. Right There was like 7 years. Holiday Inn, 7 years. The other hit, these songs were like nearly 5 years, like, they were years apart, y'all.
Like, Pulling Me Back was literally in 2006. 2006. Like, let's keep it 100. And let's also be clear that Chingy, and I'm not trying to drag his career, had a nice career. It was cute. But he was not in the upper echelon of rappers of that time. Like, the upper echelon of rappers during that time, 50 Cent, DMX, Snoop Dogg, Fabulous, Jadakiss, Ludacris, Ja Rule, of course Jay-Z. Them are the big dogs. Those were the big dogs back then in hip hop. Now and Lil Wayne too. Lil Wayne, can't forget Lil Wayne. Yeah, that was them back then. That was the upper echelon. T.I., like big dogs. Now the little dogs, the ones that were like what I call the C-lister, the one-hit wonders, or the ones that kind of came about a little bit, popped around a little bit, like Petey Pablo. Like when I think of like Chingy, I'm thinking of Petey Pablo. I'm thinking of Jaquan. I'm thinking about Mims. This is why I'm hot, hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why, this is why, this is why. Like I'm thinking of people like that. Like I would even put Akon in the A-list. Akon was even hotter than Chingy. Like Akon had a little bit of something back then. But Chingy was like, that was who I'm thinking of. Like these like dudes who kind of was on a wave and then they kind of like let's be real, you opened for Nelly. Okay, in 2002. That was like your opener. Like you wasn't even the hottest rapper in your own city, and that's St. Louis. Okay. And then you was beefing with Nelly at one point in time. Okay. I would say that you just faded out. Like there was a time where there was that Southern rap, that Midwest moment, right? That kind of happened. But you was not in the conversation like that. So I just think people got to be real about where they were. So to act like this man just fell from grace, like that's not what happened. That's not what happened with him. Like you were not like a Ja Rule where you had this beef with 50 Cent and then the beef went a certain way and then you kind of fell. Like Kanye West was hot then. Like you was not in that conversation, Chingy, like for real. So then the question becomes, okay, now that we've evaluated that this Sydney Star rumor was not what ended the career, that naturally fading, who's the other culprit? Who's the other bad guy, right? In this situation? It's his fans. Like it's literally his fans. Like, in my opinion, it's his fans. Because here's the thing. Your fans have a fucked up barometer. The litmus test goes, okay, it's crossing the line for their fave to date a trans woman. But somehow, people like Trey Songz can have numerous allegations. I mean, Chris Brown literally assaulted a woman, like physically battered Rihanna. And yet, the fans were like, nope, we're going to stand behind him. We're going to stick beside him. R. Kelly, biggest pedophile, one of the biggest pedophiles in music, had a video. Had the video. And the woman has spoken up, right? Still got people supporting him, praying for him, hoping the best for him. I mean, Tory Lanez, the shot a woman, and people are still listening to his music. Your fans basically can rock with people who have assaulted women, have been pedophiles, who have attacked people, have shot women. And these fans will do that. But like, oh, no. Dang a trans woman, that's cancelable. But anything else, not. So you have transphobic fans. You have bigoted fans. And so are we supposed to feel bad that your bigoted ass fans did not support you because of this, but they would have been cool with you if you did other things. So if you would have hit a woman, they would have been fine with that. You cultivated a fan base that pretty much you became the byproduct of. Hip hop has a culture of homophobia, transphobia, and there are rappers that benefit from that until they can't. So it's okay to be hot amongst a fan base of bigots,
But then the moment they do what they do and the bigots and it doesn't benefit you anymore, now you want to cry foul. There are fans like Usher fans, because I want to put this in perspective, right? Usher fans have heard all kinds of things about Usher, about his sexuality, about all kind of stuff. I mean, they've accused him of having an STI. Like, they done accuse this man of all kind of things. In spite of that, his fans support him. They go to his concerts. I go to Usher's concerts. I like Usher. Okay? I've been to an Usher concert. One of the greatest performers of our generation. Easily. Guess what? He's still relevant. Chingy, Usher's been accused of all kind of things. They've called him gay. They've said he's bisexual. They say all kind of things about Usher over the years. Still got a career. You know why? Because Usher never leaned into homophobia. I love that for him. Usher's never leaned into playing those types of games. Never. He's been a man of the people. He's been a superstar for everybody. I give Usher that. I love that. Usher never bit the bullet. He never played into those games. He's never had to do that. And that's why he's still relevant. So I gave y'all my analysis because y'all said, some of y'all like, that's a good point. Like gay rumors do not necessarily end people's careers. They don't. Not in this era, right? Unless it's the type of fans that you have. Chingy, maybe you was playing up a very hyper masculine persona in a way that, it was cute until it wasn't cute. I think about Jess Hilarious. Jess Hilarious is a comedian, right? Allegedly. Jess Hilarious is super transphobic. Like, she just always keeps coming after trans women. And I tried to figure out what was behind that. And then I find out that there's a lot of people that calls her trans. Like, they say she looks like she's transgender. They whatever that means, They talk about her face, her looks, and her things. And I think there was one time she mentioned or someone said that there was a guy she wanted to date or something, and he didn't believe that she was a cisgender woman. So I think there's a lot of pent up resentment that Jess has towards trans women because of how transphobic plays. But see, that's the problem. When you play into a broken system, it will break you. And so I think in so many ways, the larger takeaway for me with this Chingy situation, and I'm like, it's not about just Chingy, but it's a message here about other people. When you play with these institutions, they will eventually play you. The correct answer is to leave. It's to evolve. It's not to play, because it does not benefit you. When I see women play with internal sexism, they hang out with misogynists. Eventually, the misogyny will come to you. Eventually, it will. Don't play with it. So we'll move on. So movies. I only got one movie I'm going to talk about really briefly. And y'all know which movie I'm talking about. Melania. I saw it. Did I pay for a ticket? No. But I did see it so that you don't have to see it. I want to be clear. I saw it so you don't have to see it, because you don't need to waste your time. Hundreds, millions upon millions of dollars was paid for this dumbass film. Listen, I have thoughts. There's not too many, revelations here. Most of this film is her doing multiple fittings for the inauguration, plans for that day, meetings with White House staff. She's having, kikis with dignitaries.
her talking to her children. Yeah, it's not too much. You know, a lot of her videos, a lot of it was her in voiceover. Like she narrates the film in her accent. And, you know, she talks about the location she's at. Yeah. I just, yeah. Um, she's a mama's girl. You know, she loves her mother. That's very clear. Most of her life, she talks about her mother, talks about um her mother died last January, actually. And she talks about that experience. Yeah. It's she makes it a point um that she's often depicted with her husband. And she always says my husband most of the time. Like most of the time she's with her husband is at official events. We don't really see much intimacy with them outside of these very official events. Like we don't get an inside camera look at how they interact with each other, you know, when the cameras are off. So if you're thinking you're going to see how Trump and her work, I mean, most of it is very posy and very official. She does talk about being an immigrant. You know, she tells a story about her family, her life, and all these things. How she's Slovakian. Um, yeah, not much. Um, she talks about a lot about her son Baron. He's 19 years old now. It was a lot about how he's taking the press. You know, he's got his own life, but she talks about how he's been taking on handling all this newfound attention. Um, yeah, there's no gray with her, um, for the most part. But I think the big thing that I walked away with is the fact that, again, this film was directed by Ratner, who was accused by 6 women of sexual misconduct. Now, he's denied those allegations, but in the midst of everything that was going on during the Me Too movement, Brett Ratner, who was this famous film director, Ratner did, oh my goodness, he did a lot of films, actually. I want to say Rush Hour. He did Rush Hour, I believe. Rush Hour. I remember Rush Hour films. He did Rush Hour films. Um, he's done some other notable films, but I just know the Rush Hour films were one of his big ones. Is one of the big ones I remember him doing. But yeah, we're in an interesting time. Him directing a film, I felt like was very telling. I was like, why is this man having a comeback story? Like coming back to film a film like this. But pretty much the movie, as the New York Times described it, is focused on style. She's still grieving her mother. She's frequently alone. Um, that's most of it, you know. They talk about her credits at the end. There's like a long pre-credits list of her accomplishments, but none of it is shown in action. And I guess the biggest takeaway that some people have already said is that we don't really get a sense of who she really is, but how she wants to be seen, how she wants to be perceived. That was the major, I guess, takeaway. Yeah. So there's been a lot. So in music, the number one song in America is now Harry Styles' new song. He's back. The new song by Harry Styles it's okay. It's not a bad song. Um, it's called Aperture. The music video is a little weird. He's weird. For those who don't know what that means, aperture is an opening, hole, or gap. I just feel like people just be trying to find obscure words or big words just to try to like make them sound different. But it's now the number one song in America. It debuts at number one. He's getting ready for his new album. He's doing a residency at Madison Square Garden. I mean, he's doing it very differently. It's a moment. Shabuzi, who I met at the Grammys the night before he gave this very controversial statement, he's also in the news. He's having a moment. And not in a good way. Just to name it. He gave a statement recently that caught the eye of a lot of people criticizing it. About immigrants building this country. And he's Nigerian, I believe, he's Nigerian, or he's not, he's like Nigerian American or whatnot. Shabuzi is. But his statement got a lot of people pissed off. Rightfully so. Listen, I'm not anti-immigrant by all means. I believe that people clearly, make different statements. But one statement is that he said immigrants built this country. And it needs to be clear, and I want to be clear on this and make this known. It's ahistorical as fuck. And it's also, one woman who's described as Erica Hart said this really well. I'm going to read her quote. She says, I want folks to stop saying immigrants built this country, not only because it's ahistorical, but also its perfect victim narrative, a function of white supremacy culture that asserts because immigrants provide labor, that's why they should be able to stay. No, borders are not real, and they are only maintained via extreme violence and should be eradicated. It's true. Like this whole immigrants built this country narrative, I think, again, suggests that they deserve their human rights based on the fact that they did work. Like, no one ever questions like white people's ability to be in this country. Like, white people ain't built shit in this country. Like, well, let me frame that. Well, no, they didn't build this country. This country, America, was built by indigenous people and enslaved folks that came here. Enslaved black people who came here, right? Enslaved Africans from the diaspora. My ancestors built this country alongside indigenous people. It was our slave labor, chattel slave labor, enslaved labor, off of the soil that was initially tended to by indigenous people. And then immigrants came in next and helped polish what was already built by enslaved people and indigenous people. I think their erasure of slavery in the conversation, of the genocide, okay? Because we use this word genocide a lot, of indigenous people. Because white people need to find a humanity of all the people they oppressed is, I think, the most backwards thing ever, right? Like, it's like everyone's using these talking points. And celebrities, man, like, oh my goodness. Like, you want them to say things and you want them to shut up. I don't know what to say, but like, I don't know. This ain't that. This ain't that. And that ain't this, Just food for thought. So as far as TV goes, Tyra Banks, let's talk about this new documentary on America's Next Top Model. I'm excited. I watched America's Next Top Model like a fan back in the day. Not the latter seasons at that point, but in the very beginning, the first like 5, 6 seasons, maybe more, maybe the first 10. I was glued in. I was glued in. I mean, America's Next Top Model was that show. I don't care what anybody say. Like, it was that show. But I think the problem is people, I don't know, like, it was 24 seasons. The show started in 2003. And I remember the initial shows, they would be like, the girl who wants it bad. The girl is here to win. The girl gets rushed to the emergency room. Like, it was a very interesting show. The show was from 2003 to 2018, 15 years of America's Next Top Model. And I'm happy that Tyra Banks is getting a chance to talk about it, you know? I think what's important to note about the show is that there was a lot, right? It was created by Tyra Banks and it was developed by Ken Mock and Kenya Barris. Yes, that Kenya Barris from Blackish. Yes, that Kenya Barris. They had 24 cycles, you know? And I remember those like first, like the first, like, you know, the first third of the show, the series, the first 8, there was a lot of extreme things that happened on TV. It was a lot. It was a lot of weird stuff. And a lot of people were, you know, had mixed reviews about the show. I think that, at least to me, what's important to know is that everything about the world was different back then. I'm not saying it was to justify it, but if you don't recognize where America was in 2003 and you're trying to apply a over 20-year perspective on that, I don't know. I think it's good that they're talking about it, about the show. There were some things on the show that happened that wasn't okay then and now. But the way in which people addressed those things, viewed those things, they were very different. And so I'm noticing a pattern of people retroactively trying to assess what these things meant. Personally, I think you should watch it for an education, but I wouldn't want to necessarily crucify people based on it in a certain extent. You know, I think some of it is like, yeah, but no. So that's my personal assessment. Like, I mean, I haven't seen the documentary yet. I can't wait to watch it. It drops on February 16th. So I'm going to be getting my life. February 16th, come here soon. Come here fast. I think I was looking at it right now, like the date when it drops. It's going to be a show. It's going to be an interesting. I mean, they got a lot of. I mean, is Janice Dickinson coming back? You know, like, is she coming back? Like, is that happening? Because I'm ready. I mean, February 16th is going to be hot. You know, it's going to be hot. It's going to be a hot show. I mean, I just hope people. I don't know. I just have a sense that. I mean, maybe Tyra will be real about it. I mean, maybe she'll be real. But I mean, the fact that everyone's back, you know, that's going to be something. That's going to be a big deal. So, Netflix, February 16th, Monday, February 16th, the day before Mr. Johnson's 31st birthday. We're gonna watch it as a family. We're all gonna watch it, and we'll see what happens. So this week is going to be a little chill. I need to rest and recover this week. I was out. This is my rest week. I'm taking it easy. Y'all. I'm gonna have some lunch. You know, go to some lunches. There's some friends' birthdays this week. Back-to-back birthdays actually this week. But yeah, I'm taking it easy. It's going to be a very easy, breezy, chill week. I mean, this week. I don't really have anything on the agenda. Super Bowl is this week. I'm taking it easy. It's going to be I'm going to try not to have a very super eventful week, but you never know. You never know. But yeah, so that's this week's episode. I'm going to do next week, but I have to get everything back on schedule because, I know how y'all get. But that's all, we're going to see how things play out. Stay tuned. And as always, be well and be better.
Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.